Hey guys, Bolt here with quick summary of the four very well good films. I mean, the fourth one was alright. Of Scooby-Doo, which are Scooby-Doo Zombie Island, Scooby-Doo Scooby-Doo Cyber Chase, Scooby-Doo Space Invaders, and Witch's Ghost. So these were the peak of the Scooby-Doo movies. Basically, everyone craps on the new movies because they're redoing what they've done in the past. Which, if you guys go see last Monday's video, I went over the new era of entertainment. Which, for example, they already did one of these movies dirty. They returned to Zombie Island and said it was all a hoax, which there's one problem that they never explained. Werecats, zombies, ghost. You basically say nothing happened, but stuff did happen. There's no explanation, really. Return to Zombie Island is a movie that takes up, that basically, so, I'll go over the first four, and then I'll do Return to Zombie Island. So, Zombie Island is probably the very first movie you can probably go off of. It's classic Scooby-Doo animation and more. It's beautiful. So Zombie Island basically starts where the gang is from their original roots. They're like teenagers / young adults. They are going over the case of the Moat Monster, and the Moat Monster is actually out for blood. It's actually showing the more serious side of Scooby-Doo. That these people in suits, they have like a bad motive for trying to dress up as a monster and do this stuff. But you gotta think is some of these people are willing to do more than just spook a bunch of teenagers / young adults. The Moat Monster actually slices Fred's back and tries to drop all three of them off an edge. And I believe he also tries to rip apart Shaggy and Scooby, because his claws are literally so sharp. They're basically razor blades. So we have Freddy Krueger. But anyways, the Moat Monster ends up getting knocked out, and I believe that's like one of the few realizations that we're solving cases and making it better for people, but there's a few people that are chasing a high. They are Daphne is one of the major people that is like, we have yet to actually run into the actual real monster. We want to see myths, legends, and cryptids, but they don't really run into that stuff until these movies. So a few years later, they disband, do their own thing. Daphne becomes a news reporter, I believe, where she actually goes and reports on certain things, and Fred is the cameraman and producer. But Daphne, when we see her, is about to do her own run-through mysteries to kind of get a little bit of her old, getting the feeling back and actually trying to discover a real-life monster, ghost, or ghoul. Velma becomes a bookshop owner, and she sells off mystery books. Is her big seller. And then Shaggy and Scooby, they've been basically unemployed for the longest time. Basically, they get a job. They either steal the product's food, they probably got into fast food and ate all the food, so there's no food to serve to the customers, so they have to go. The thing that we do see in the film is that they become basically I'm trying to remember. Airplane security, basically contraband. They gotta take it away and kind of check everyone's bags and stuff. But thing is, they go and eat contraband which is a big federal no-no. And the fact that you're on duty when you eat this contraband, ooh, they're lucky they just got fired. Anyways, Fred is like, hey, let's hire the gang and actually go on this adventure. So they surprise Daphne. I think it's her birthday, and they're like, happy birthday. Since we're about to do this, why not bring the whole gang back into it and, get some views on having the mystery gang all together and actually have fun while we're doing this. And they do a quick run through a bunch of monsters. There's the fortune teller that has a haunting. There's a Batman bat. Basically, it's a Batman reference. There's a lobster. They all turn out to be fake. But then they're on another, they get another clue from someone, and they're out shopping when we meet, I believe, not Simone. Simone is the owner. Lisa or something like that. I know it starts with an L. She's like the associate slash person who kind of she's like a farmer hand. Basically, she is a farmhand to a woman named Simone who owns an island, who says that there's hauntings and there's it's well known burial grounds, and it also has a treasure and all that involved. And basically she would believes that this could be a possibility, that the hauntings could be showing a real thing for the gang. So the gang follows her out. They meet a guy that does a boat. He's basically, a ferry. It's a ferry driver. You put your car on, you go across the water. We also meet a alligator hunter, a croc hunter. But in the end, they go on the island. They discover a few things, hey, this is where some pirates and some pilgrim kind of people, some very early immigrants and all that came over, and most have died. So they believe that a lot of these people that are coming to haunt them. So we see some colonial soldiers, we see some pirates and all that, in ghost form, that is. Eventually, when the moon is full, things start getting very hectic. More ghost sightings, more lore starts popping up. And eventually they run into voodoo dolls of all the gang, including the, groundskeeper, who's a jock. They all have wax figures of them that are voodoo dolls. And in the end, it figures out that Simone and the farmhand are actually old people that were praying to a cat god, that basically their people, when the pirates came, chased all of the townsfolk into the river, I believe, and it killed all the other people of that little village. So they're the two remaining of their people, and they prayed to their cat god to give them powers to rip apart the pirate people, but at a cost. Basically, they gotta suck the soul and essence out of people to continue living. So basically, every now and then they have to suck life out of people to continue to live. So they can be eternal life. They can be immortal, basically. But they have to give souls by a certain time. So guess what? It's their feeding time, and the gang are there. And they're about to suck the soul out of them. And Shaggy and Scooby are going to be the big problems. But they're able to make quick voodoo dolls of the girls, of the Catwoman, and push them against the wall. They also make the ferry driver a werecat as it is, and he comes for blood too. But I believe, oh yeah, the zombies and Ghost. The Ghost becomes zombies, like the corpses of the original people that were killed by the werecats to get their essence come back from a curse to take down Jacques. That's his name, Jacques, from the ferry driver. And in the end, they miss the opportunity to get the life essence, and they shrivel away and die into bones. And then the gang are like, well, that was scary, but time to get back to mystery solving. This was fun. Hey, we actually had a real life encounter with some voodoo. We had some ghosts, some zombies. So it's time to get back to mystery solving. And I believe the next one after that, oh yeah, and the groundskeeper that was a jock ended up being a fed or something like that, and he basically was like, all right, well, we figured out what happened, but because there's no more people, we can't be believed, so we got to keep this shush. Anyways, they go on to Witch's Ghost, which is basically they're going over a museum, and there's a breaking in, and there's two. It's basically the security guards are dressing up as like these zombie. I forget what you call them, but they're zombified knights that basically are trying to get rid of the curator or like a museum head, and basically the gang come in, stop them, and they meet one of Velma's favorite celebrities, Ben Ravencroft, who is a mystery/horror book writer, and he's basically saying, hey, I'm going to my hometown, and this is where a lot of my original thoughts come from. Why not come? And it's in New England too, so we get a new area instead of America. So they travel over, they go into the hometown, they learn that Ben Ravencroft's like ancestor is basically the hoax of the town as the witch's ghost. Basically during the Salem witch trials is what I believe they're trying to get at, that Sarah Ravencroft was a witch and she was performing rituals to heal people. But Ben Ravencroft literally says, hey, she's been using herbs and other remedies that she learned through the ages from family. And because she was so good at it that it got past a lot of people. And I believe she's very similar to the Dracula's wife from Helsing. But basically that's what she's set up to be. Anyways, they go doing the normal thing. They celebrate this like big occasion. I believe they're doing like an autumn fest, and the ghost is supposed to bring in a lot of guests. And it's basically like they're celebrating the Pilgrims, which is weird. It's New England, which means you're celebrating you crossing over to America, which is a weird thing. Anyways, so they're celebrating it. Shaggy and Scooby come across the witch's ghost, and it ends up being a bunch of the townspeople working together to make the hoax real. And you know, it's supposed to bring in money, not actually do anything to people. But the only thing that was bad about it is they're using someone they know, their ancestor, and mucking up the name of his. We also meet the Hex Girls, which is a band of emo/gothic style girls that are very good singers, and I believe they actually are voiced by a band. But Hex Girls are like a high I wish we could continue, because that music that they make, it's on my playlist a lot. But anyways, we learn quickly that Scooby is a bloodhound all of a sudden and can sniff out the basically Shaggy in the beginning of the movie found a shoe buckle, which he shows to Ben Ravencroft and Velma, and guess what? It's not a shoe buckle, it's a book buckle, and it's supposed to be a part of the book of Sarah Ravenscroft, which Ben's been looking for the longest time. And it's under a big oak tree that was cut down a while ago, so they find the tree stump of the big tree, they dig it, find a box that looks haunted like it's a part of the Dead Rising universe, and out comes a book that looks exactly like something out of there too, and it's Sarah Ravenscroft's journal. Nope, it's a freaking spellcasting book that has rituals and summons and basically witchcraft. And guess what? It gives Ben Ravencroft powers, and he becomes this being who can just shoot you, put things aflame, burn everything to the ground if he wanted to. And eventually, he has the chance to summon from the pages Sarah Ravencroft as a ghost that's over all-powerful witch. And she was put into that journal by the Wiccans, which I believe are supposed to be like the anti-witches, and they all kind of still participated in witchcraft, if I can remember correctly. I'm sorry if I got that wrong, but basically they were able to seal her in the book, and only a Wiccan can seal her back into the book. And the only person we know at this point is Thorn, the head of the singer of the Hex Girls. So basically it's grab the book, get it to Thorn, have her read the passage to seal Sarah back. They have trouble. Ben tries to help a little bit, but because Sarah's burning the world, Ben tries to stop her, but gets, put into a bubble. Eventually they get it to Thorn and seal her away, and they also seal Ben away as well. That way the Ravencrofts are no longer a problem. And before they can grab the book, one of the trees that one of the witches put on fire, the branches fall and burn the book. So the Ravencrofts will never be a thing. They party again, have a good autumn fest. Hey, thanks to the Ravencrofts, though, they have a giant turkey, both to show off as like a magnificent prized possession, and eventually cook properly. Time to baste this bird. Moving on to, I believe, Alien Invaders were the next one. This is basically like, hey, there's some alien sightings. There's this guy who thought he could be picked up and got probed. He makes paintings. They go to the site. They do see things. It ends up being aliens in this area that are mining something, and basically they're trying to get into this mining operation. But then we have Shaggy and Scooby falling in love with nothing against people, but it's basically a hippie and a golden retriever. And they have a whole love story and love song, but they basically are like journalists at the first, and they're all the gang, and Scooby and the journalist and the golden retriever and Scooby come in and basically discover that it's actually like researchers that found like gold or something and are trying to keep whatever substance, coal, oil, whatever that they're trying to mine there, and they're trying to keep it to themselves, which is, I think, to that township that they're around is technically owning that. But then we meet the real aliens, which are basically the hippie and the golden retriever that Scooby and Shaggy fell in love with. Ends up being real life aliens that are blue in color and can morph. They're pretty strong, but they can't go against a forklift, and it almost kills them. So until Shaggy and Scooby are able to do something, and they capture the people, but the aliens go away. But weirdly, Shaggy and Scooby still are in love with them, and they fly away, saying we may meet in the future or something, which we have yet to see that come up again. Then we have Cyber Chase, my favorite movie of all the Scooby-Doos, because it puts back nostalgia. Basically, they have a friend who's like in college doing game design, and he basically they're doing a lot of stuff. There's a competition coming up. Eric is their friend. He's making a virtual world based on the Scooby Gang and their mysteries. And then there's his friend who's making a baseball game. And there's also the professor that's looking over them. Well, while the gang are heading there, a phantom virus, as it is, comes out of the projector that allows you to get projected into a game. He comes out into the real world, and he's affected by magnets, which, static electricity. But anyways, he hurts, I think, the professor. And the gang show up. They're like, what's happening? They have to go through the entire lab, find him. Him and the gang are randomly zapped into the game of the mystery gang that Eric was making, and basically level by level they have to go through it. It's a weird thing. So I believe it's at the end of every level there's a Scooby snack box, and they gotta collect it to get to the next thing. We have a space level with people that are astronauts. They have a Roman Coliseum with zombified gladiators. They have a North Pole level that you have to go up a pool, and there's a polar bear. There's a Jurassic World kind of thing where there's dinosaurs, which isn't really Mystery Inc. centered, but it's basically, hey, here's this era, here's this era. There's a Japanese era with a samurai. There's an underwater level with an octopus. There's basically Honey, I Shrunk the Kids reference, and they have giant ants and all that. But at the end, they return to Coolsville or wherever they are originally from, and they meet the Cyber Gang, which is basically the classic looks of the gang. And they meet up, and they have to basically figure out where the last Scooby snack box is so they can get back into the real world. But the gang, the Cyber Gang knows where the box is. It's just they want to stay in the very last level because this is their home. They don't want to deal with all the creeps and crawlies from the original levels. They just want to have fun. This is a hometown, and it's got a carnival where the game normally wants you to get pushed to. Hey, here's the hometown, but we're going to a carnival level to play a few mini games. Is basically how the game probably would have went if it was a real game. But the Phantom Virus finds out where they are and goes through the back to have to go to the carnival. There they have to try to get in, but before they can really get in, they get stopped by the Phantom Virus, and they get classic villains coming in, which is they have the Creeper, they have Jaguaro, they have Old Iron Face, they have Tar Monster. I think there's 5. There's Gator Ghoul. Let's see, I'm trying to remember. The Freds had Gator Ghoul. Daphne had they had to split up and face each monster. I know that the Fred and Cyber Fred had to go after Gator Ghoul. Daphne and Cyber Daphne had to deal with the Creeper. Velma and Cyber Velma had to deal with Old Iron Face. Shaggy and Cyber Shaggy had to deal with Tar Monster. And Jaguaro was with this Scooby and Cyber Scooby. And basically, they go through all the different parts of the carnival. You have the Freds with the Gator Ghoul on the bumper cars and the roller coaster. You have Daphne in the fun house and in like a classic picture setup, like they do like the smoke and all that. Velma's, I believe, are in a wax factory. I think that's all you see of them. Oh, no, they're in a petting zoo. They go to a petting zoo with like the goats and all that. The Shaggies, they go to eat. And also do the hammer game. And then the Scoobies go on... I don't think the Scoobies do much. I think the Scoobies just go on the waterlog ride. And that's really it. Anyways, they're able to get away from the monsters. They get to the arcade part of the carnival where inside there's an in-game version of the game where it's an arcade cabinet and the Scooby snacks are on it. So they have to get in there and start fighting. But the thing is, the Phantom Virus is protecting that. And the only thing they have to face it is one of the super magnets that the professor gave them, that Shaggy somehow had in his pocket without affecting anything else. Well, I guess the only bad thing is with the super magnet out, they can't have the cyber gang being a part of it because that means they get stuck in place, which can be disastrous if the Phantom Virus or one of the monsters get a hold of them. So the cyber gang has to stay out, where the main gang goes in by themselves with the super magnet. The gang gets destroyed until the cyber gang are saying, screw it, let's go help the normal gang, but all of them get stuck by the monsters. But they're able to make a distraction enough for Cyber Scooby to get in there, and basically he's a virus, not a virus, he's a program. So unlike the normal Scooby, Cyber Scooby is of action and basically, hey, I have to face dinosaurs. So Cyber Scooby is very courageous and able to distract the Phantom Virus enough for normal Scooby to get the box of snacks. And basically they get rid of the Phantom Virus now that, you know, the game has been reset. There's no longer going to be a Phantom Virus, which means the game is normal like it's supposed to. The gang are able to escape the game, and they say goodbye to the Cybers, and they get ported back to the real world and find out that Eric's friend who makes the baseball game is the one who created the Phantom Virus, because what was problem is he made the Cyber Virus a part of his game and ported it out. And what made it bad is some of the baseball data got sucked into the Phantom Virus. There was play ball, there was 3 strikes you're out. Basically, he made a lot of baseball references. And he also was at the batting cages at the carnival. And that's what gave him away. So that was the 4 best Scooby-Doo movies. But now it's on to a quick recap of Return to Zombie Island. This muddled that movie. This was the dumbest freaking thing I've ever seen. So, just like the original Return to Zombie Island, the gang is retiring again. So they're having a garage sale, selling off the mystery machines, selling off the costumes of the villains they dealt with. Kind of like a Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. They have the Space Kooks suit in there. We get a red shirt Shaggy reference. No, we don't. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the 13 Ghosts movie. I'm sorry. I got that screwed up. Never mind. That's for a separate video. Sorry. Let me reiterate. So Return to Zombie Island, basically Velma's going over the old cases that were unsolved. They couldn't figure out the the full reasoning behind it. They call back to, I think, two other instances. One of them is the Reluctant Werewolf movie, which we'll cover probably here in a few more videos. And basically they're like, hey, these things were never explained. One of the biggest mysteries that was in Velma's head was the Zombie Island case. And they're like, hey, let's go back and figure out what happened here. They get invited back to the island by... Well, actually, they didn't even know they were getting invited at first. They just had a movie studio get a hold of them and say, hey, we want to redo one of your cases as a movie. And it turns out it's Zombie Island that they want to make a movie out of. And they return back to Moonscar Island, which has been renamed something else, Moon. But basically, they take the ferry over. They have a replacement for Jock. They have a few new actors. They have a sexy girl one. They have an action hero. They have a freaking monster truck mystery machine. They have an action hero, Fred. It's basically they're redoing it, but with an action movie mindset. They're pulling a Michael Bay for the zombie movies, what they're trying to say here. And through it all, they make excuse after excuse saying this is what happened in Zombie Island. This never happened. This never happened. You could have just been imagining things. I'm sorry, but there's no way you imagine they were eating and drinking normal stuff. So there's no way you can just say that they weren't imagining ghosts, zombies, and a freaking werecats. They didn't even touch the werecats, really. They just put them a part of the movie. And basically they made it seem like the zombies and werecats were coming back, but it was just actors in the end. And basically hyped everyone up thinking that, hey, the curse is still here. It's just, another person found out about the cat god and restarted the curse in the first place. No, it's just movie actors trying to surprise the gang. Like, hey, gang, here's a movie set idea. Hey, there's a mystery afoot, too. It sucks. But anyways, that's it for 5 of the Scooby-Doo movies. I didn't realize that I was so far behind on these movies. But we should get up and moving here soon. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.